in a sense, I agree with you, because I think this is like a criticism not of capitalism, not of neoclassical economists. It's the nature of humanity as well. The thing which distinguishes us from the other species isn't just our intelligence; it's the fact that we can share beliefs, and then those beliefs empower us to do things which we could never do individually. But they equally they can generate a trend which is unsustainable. But you get positive feedback and amplifying feedback for the people at the top to keep that trend going, even though it's unsustainable. Now, normally in the past, that's meant things like, Teotihuacan collapses and Easter Island runs out of trees, et cetera, et cetera. But this is global, okay? And we are not going to, we're only going to react to it when we realize, holy shit, this is serious. Now, holy shit, this is serious for climate change is not going to be even the fire domes in Western United States aren't enough for that. It's going to be something which kills an entire city.
Yeah,
something of that nature. I mean, for example, one of my renewed worries is what's called the AMOC. The AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, which we otherwise know as the Gulf Stream. Okay, the Gulf Stream.
Yep.
Okay. That is a water distribution system which goes right from the Antarctic to the Arctic. Okay? But part of it that is in the northern Antarctic is called the AMOC, and that's distributes heat from the equatorial regions of the Atlantic Ocean to northern Europe, and it's driven both by temperature differences and salinity differences. And if you dump too much fresh water into the northern reaches of it, say, for example, melting Greenland and melting all the Arctic ice, then that breaks down the temperature difference, and it cools the water too much, but it also dilutes the salt level too much, and the AMOC will stop. Now, when that stops, the temperature is still being accumulated by the planet, but it's stuck in the equatorial region, and therefore there's a bigger gradient of temperature between the equatorial region and the northern region. Now, that, according to research by James Hansen and other scientists who know what they're bloody well talking about, generated superstorms. And they've got part of their evidence for that back, I think it's called the Eemian period in climatology, were 1,000-ton boulders strewn across some part of Ireland, which they proved ultimately wasn't done by tsunamis, but by normal waves, storm waves. They're saying superstorms were a product of that temperature difference when the AMOC broke down. Now, there is recent data saying it appears to be breaking down. And what do economists tell us would be the impact of that? It's going to improve GDP. Okay? Okay. And I'm not joking. This is Richard Toll saying it would improve it. In a recent paper came out 4 or 5 days ago, AMOC will reduce the damages because the temperature gradient will fall. If the temperature gradient drops a bit, that's fabulous. If a 1,000-ton boulder lands on your house, that's not so crash hot. And they're leaving out these causal processes, reducing it all to temperature, without looking at the temperature gradients that are going to exist, the superstorms which could occur. So I think what we need, I hate to say it, we need something like that to happen. A storm so big that we lose, a storm or a fire or some event like that wipes out just a large part of a place where humans happen to live. And then in that case, holy shit, this is serious. And then the sort of changes you're talking about would be possible. But again, it's a bit like the phony war. Before the Germans, we had Chamberlain coming back from signing a document to hand over Poland to Hitler, saying peace in our time. And you only had Churchill, not only Churchill, but one of the most important ones, saying, you've got to stop this madman, blah, blah, blah. And ultimately, the invasion of France occurs, and suddenly holy shit, this is serious. And then in that situation, people accepted all the rationing. They accepted having to become volunteer for the army. They accepted everything being devoted to a war issue, which was an existential threat.